I want to welcome to the program Joseph McBride of the McBride Law Firm. He has been one of the attorneys who has been on all of this, January 6th stuff from the beginning, has worked for many of the January 6th defendants, and someone who I am proud to call a friend. And Joe, thank you for being on with us. I know I contacted you yesterday and I was like, I bet you're not going to have time for me today, because I would imagine that yesterday was a reasonably busy day for you.
Yes, it's good to be here, Sarah. It's good to see you guys. It's been extremely busy over the past few days, but for good reason. We're very happy to be talking about the release of this footage, how it's going to help my clients and some of the other clients, and of course, satiate the general public's curiosity as to what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, so you mentioned your clients, and I know there's only so much that you can share with us, but has just the parts that we've seen, right? All of the footage that Tucker released, has the releasing of that footage, has that directly affected any of your cases?
It's going to. I don't want to tip my hand on it too much, because it will remove our ability to operate with stealth-like precision. And, it's very hard to keep anything from the government these days. But if you just consider the fact that Tucker used Jacob Chansley's case, Jacob Chansley already had pled guilty. I don't think he saw that information that we all saw, because it certainly wasn't available to him at that time. Had he seen it, he probably would have had a different opinion about whether or not he should be pleading out. And certainly the sentencing judge would have had more to consider in turning his, when considering his culpability. Was it nefarious, or was he getting a guided tour by the Capitol Police? I would submit, and I think the most reasonable-minded people see him walking around with a guided tour. And you can't charge somebody with a trespass or entering and remaining in government property illegally if you have permission from the government.
So then what happens then? Like, if you let me pose it to you this way: if you were his attorney, what would be your next move for his case?
I would file an appeal based on newly available evidence that was intentionally withheld from the defense by the federal government, evidence that is exculpatory. It's Brady evidence. This evidence, if admitted at trial, or if admitted in his case at the plea or before the plea, would have changed the outcome substantially of his jail sentence. His jail sentence, maybe instead of getting 4 years, he would have got 4 days. So any fair-minded attorney is going to say, hey, we have fertile grounds for an appeal here. We can appeal the sentencing. We can appeal the plea. And we can certainly go after the government. The Department of Justice is going to say, hey, we're the executive branch. We're not Congress. Congress is going to say, hey, we're not the Department of Justice. But they're members of the same body, that body being the federal government. And the hand cannot say to the foot, surely I do not need you. These people are coordinated. These branches work together all the time. And it is simply inexcusable for this kind of thing to be happening in this day and age.
Joe, we've heard accounts of at least 2 other FBI whistleblowers that said that they were politicizing this case and opening up unneeded investigations, like to try to make it look like it was larger than it was. I think shock and awe was used by somebody in the justice system. If they're knowingly withholding Brady information, can't you go on the offense after let's say these cases get resolved in your favor? Can you then launch lawsuits?
Yes, it's very hard. It's a great question. And the difficulty behind it is the age-old problem of qualified immunity. A prosecutor can get up there, he can withhold evidence, or she can withhold evidence from you. You can do 40 years in jail. Wow. And sure, you can sue the federal government, and you can sue for your civil rights to be violated, and you can recover financially. But are these people held accountable? They're never held accountable. And that needs to change. And the only way that changes is through legislation. People have to, like yourself, have to speak out about this. Congressmen and women need pressure put on them from the public, and they need to go and pass legislation that removes qualified immunity in these situations. Prosecutors who knowingly withhold information in circumstances like these should be held criminally accountable, not just financially accountable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I want to ask you about last time we talked, I think you said that there were still people being held in pretrial detention, in regards to January 6th. Is that still the case? And if so, how many?
That is still the case. I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but the number's probably somewhere between 50 or 60 and 100. That number goes up and down. Look, 1,000 arrests have already happened. They have announced they're going to do 1,000 more arrests. With those arrests will come more pretrial detentions. I know people this week have been calling me saying, hey, the FBI is at my door. What am I supposed to do? You have somebody like Christopher Quaglin, who is represented. Jonathan Gross, your colleague and friend, is the first chair now on that case. He is representing Mr. Quaglin. Mr. Quaglin has been held under egregious conditions for about 2 years now. He should have been let out. He was not let out. He was put into the same prisons that Ryan Nichols was in. I was able to get Ryan Nichols out for objectively less egregious reasons, and Mr. Quaglin is still in. This baffles the mind, and you have to look at the judge in that case and wonder and say, hey, what is really going on here? And I do believe after January 6th body of litigation has passed and the smoke of battle has cleared and things have settled down, that there will be impeachment articles against judges who have not fulfilled their constitutional duties to uphold the law in a neutral and detached way.
Well, I hope that happens. What about the prison conditions? I want to get your take on those, because what I've been reading are just, human rights abuses, and you have the left who is doing all of this enforcement, and they are supposed to be the party of, criminal reform, and we don't want these people to be in horrible conditions, and they care. And some of what I've been reading is just horrendous human rights abuses. Can you just tell the viewers out there, what are some of the most egregious conditions that you have seen, that you know to be true in these prisons for these political prisoners?
You are subject to rat and mice feces on a regular basis. You have roaches in your food. Oh. You have bugs and sometimes rats biting at you when you're sleeping at night. You're often held in rooms with no ventilation that have black mold. There's brown water. There's no regular access to toiletries or to personal hygiene products. In the case of Ryan Taylor Nichols, a decorated military veteran with PTSD, he had PTSD well before January 6th. And he was held in solitary confinement to the point where his mind almost broke. They put him on suicide watch. They strapped him to a table for days, and they encouraged him to kill himself. And they said, are you still suicidal? Are you okay? You are? Okay. We'll keep you in this cold room with the plastic Tyvek suit with the music playing and the lights looking at you. I would make fun of you until you say you're not suicidal anymore. If you're not suicidal, we'll stick you back in. If you are suicidal, please just kill yourself and get it over with so we can go to dinner tonight. That is what is going on. That is one example of a multitude of examples. It's egregious, it's un-American, it is disgusting, but what they have done is they have weaponized the term insurrectionist and the term domestic terrorist. It is analogous to using the N-word against black people. And what I mean by that, what is the purpose of the N-word? The purpose of the N-word is to subconstitutionalize and subhumanize a human being so you don't have to treat them like a human. You can treat them like chattels. Now, when you look at January 6ers, they are being called domestic terrorists, insurrectionists. You're less than human. You're not American. Therefore, the Constitution doesn't apply to you. Lock them up, throw away the key, torture them, beat them up. No one cares because you're no longer one of us.
Yeah. Well, look, we appreciate all of the work that you are doing and have been doing for all these years now for these January 6 defendants. Tell everyone, I think you have a Give, Send, Go set up for these people. Obviously, they can't pay these legal bills. So tell everyone where they can go to help with that. You can go to McBrideLawNYC.com, click on the January 6th tab.
There you'll see a global Give, Send, Go. That's the one we're recommending people to go to at this time. I represent some people who are listed on my site. I represent a bunch who are not on my site because not everybody wants to be publicized. But if you donate to that Give, Send, Go, the money will go where it's needed most straight away. Thank you very, very much, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, and we'll keep in touch.
If you like that clip, there is plenty more where that came from. Click the link in the description below to subscribe to the News and Why It Matters YouTube channel to watch the full episode.